I can explain where I think that drop is coming from. But I think a lot of stuff, especially on LinkedIn and what's up about the prices falling, is that the market is aware of all the bad quality in the marketplace, and the end users are tired of buying in kind of like this Wild West shit show, pardon my French, environment where, like, you know, brokers are coming at them left and right that really have no credentials, really don't even understand the product. And it was okay when it was crazy, and they couldn't get anything. They were willing to try some of these, you know, back alley deals and flea market, like, weird videos and auctioning on what's up. But I think people have moved past that because it's become too dangerous. So tons of people were burnt in the marketplace. Tons of end users were burnt in the marketplace. It's been, a lot of the fake certificates and things have been figured out. The blends that have been packaged in nitrile boxes have somewhat bubbled to the surface. And so for those people, there's a rush to the exit, right? So for crappy brokers that were eking a little bit of a living being bad at it, they can't make money being bad at it anymore. Okay. The market's just matured. For crappy gloves that were selling like hotcakes before anybody was paying attention, they can't do that anymore. A lot of people in January, February, and even in March landed for the first time their couple of containers that they, went to the casino on, right? And they wanted a quick flip, and their money's been tied up for months. And a lot of them, are really nervous that the bottom's going to fall out. And so they're willing to lower their prices. So there's a panic sell. It's almost like the stock market, right? It's a panic sell, but it's a head fake. Because the reality is there's still a huge need. And I posted some data the other day. There's still, just pre-pandemic, we needed 40 million boxes of good nitrile a month into the US. Now, in February, 36 million came in, and I would venture to say more than half of it was probably shit. Just goofy bands from blueberry to dingleberries to, just weird names and, walnuts and
you said in your post like acai berry or whatever.
Every name in the book is out there now, and some are legit and some aren't. And so I think we have a couple things. I think who's selling it? Is it a professional organization? What's the glove? Is it a good glove? Does it have a great straight line from the glove to the factory to the FDA to the 510K to the tests? Is all that happening? Or is it a repacker that's doing dodgy things, which is, in a lot of cases. And so that's the head fake. And so this is the clearing stage of that. And the next stage will be who's left standing that has a professional organization with distribution, with a good glove at a decent price that can stand next to any of the white market. Like the gray market was okay for a while, but it proved to be too dangerous.
Right.
So people are getting really bad gloves, used gloves, ripped up gloves, right. 1 mil gloves, bad stuff. And so those bridges are burnt. And so we're seeing a fleeing of brokers that realize that, they can't fake their way through this anymore. And we're seeing a fleeing of people that were one-time investors where it didn't pan out like they thought. And then what's going to be left is the people that can actually service the marketplace with a good quality product at a decent price with a professional organization that can find an end user.
Right. No, that definitely makes sense. And I'll definitely take a look at that link.
Yeah, I think the biggest problem was a lot of these people that went to sell containers, went to sell their goods, didn't have end users. They just thought they'd be able to get them, and just because they had them, they'd be gone. And that wasn't the case anymore. You still have to have access to, you still have to have, you have to have a channel of distribution. Otherwise, you're stuck with the inventory. I get 100, 200 messages a week. Hey, Doug, I just landed a 40-foot container. Can you help me sell it? I don't know anybody that would read my posts and think that I can help them sell anything, because I don't go running around pitching stuff mostly. You know, I bring it in, and then it's other people's jobs to sell them. So I always tell them I can't help you, but when you spent $400,000 to bring in this container, was it ever a thought of how you might exit?
Right.
Fuck, I mean, you know, you got to exit. You know,
Yeah.
you have to have an end user in mind.
No, so many people just got caught up in the hype of all of it, and they think, oh my God, I have this great commodity. It's going to go like hotcakes. I just know it. And they just go on that blind faith without actually thinking about, like, okay, where can I actually place these? That's verified, trusted, distributed, all that type of stuff.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that totally makes sense. So going a little bit more further on that point in regards to like making sure you have verified goods and all of the different fakes that have been got into the market and all just the dodgy stuff and everything else like that. Generally, when you're looking at a box of gloves, you're judging a production line or whatever else you may be doing, one of the biggest things that at least I had trouble understanding was making sure that the product you're getting is 100% nitrile, because there's so many different types of rubbers out there. There's synthetics, there's blends, there's every single thing that could be labeled as nitrile, but it's really a latex blend or something else like that. How do you make that assessment in your own mind, or are there any key indications or factors that lead you to believe that something is 100% nitrile, or
Well,
like is there just speaking more about that of just ensuring that a product is 100% nitrile, and how do you check for that?
right. So here's a fallacy. You cannot make a glove 100% nitrile.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's kind of the biggest thing about it is that you can't really make it.
Yeah, a really, really, really good glove is going to be about 80, 85%.
Mm-hmm.
Then there's filler. And the question is, what's the filler, right? But a good glove can go all the way down to 60% nitrile and still be okay, and still be a good glove.
Mm-hmm.
Still be considered a good glove. And you can bet with the price of nitrile that the chemists that are working in some of these big factories are finding a way to fix their margins. And so there's two things you can do.
Extending the supply as much as they possibly can to extend their margins.
There's two things you can do to make your glove cheaper right now. One is to, you know, cut down on the NBR and use more filler to an acceptable level. And two, you make the glove thinner. And that's the other thing that people are doing. And that is just, you know, that is what you have to decide, whether the manufacturer that you're working with, where their moral compass is, or where their, you know, where their thought process is to how their integrity of doing business. Everybody's doing a little bit to cut some corners. There's no question about it. And so the filler, it just depends on what they use for filler as well. Like isoprene is used as a filler, and it's great. Silicone's used as a filler. PVC is used as a filler. Sometimes I tell people, you know, don't overthink it too much. I mean, before the pandemic, this was a cheap frickin' rubber glove. Yeah, I mean, it needs to be made under some standards, but, you know, look, it used to be, you know, 2-3 cents a glove. Now it's more expensive, so there's a lot of eyes on it. But it was never like the most unbelievable product in the world.
Yeah.
I mean, it was always a cheap rubber disposable glove meant to be worn for like a minute.
Yeah.
So I always caution people, like, you know, this is not a medical device of, you know, of any enormous significance. It's a rubber glove, and it needs to be looked at. But about 85% to 60% is the range. You can test a glove for impurities fairly quickly if you're that interested in finding out, you know, what's actually in it. And it is a big problem right now because it's an enormous cost. Actually, there's a third way. The third way, and it's being used a lot to make more money on your gloves, is to not put 100 gloves in a box. If you short a container by 6 or 8 gloves, and you do the math on that, it's an enormous amount of money.
Yeah. And you end up getting a couple extra boxes from that.
And I mean, there are very few people that are going to sit down and count every box, you know?
Right.
So that's what SGS or the inspection companies, AQF or Bureau Veritas or Intertech, are supposed to do, is, you know, try to give you some warm and feeling, you know, fuzzy feelings. But look, all the way through, you know, they can cut the NBR, they can cut the thickness, and they can definitely short you on gloves.
Mhm.
on the lookout.
Mhm.
Those are at least you're getting gloves.
What harm is really being done at that point, just because of the fact it's 30% nitrile versus, 60% nitrile or
Right.
whatever else they do that may be. So then kind of
So
going
somebody
off
may
of
have
the,
overpaid, they may have paid the market price, but most people will go through the gloves and not even know it. So again,
right.
it's one of those things where, some people come after that really hard and some people don't care. And some people, counterfeit's one thing, I've run into some people that have no problem selling a counterfeit brand. And I feel like that's a bad thing. I have some people that have no problem selling with fake certificates and things like that, and fake 510Ks and fake SGSs, and I feel that's a problem. But I don't know. It's kind of a quandary because, again, it's like,
Yeah.
paper plates are disposable. And do you really give too much of a crap as long as the paper plate holds your burger while you're eating it and then you throw it away?
Yeah. Yeah. At the end of the day, you're getting the same job done,
Yeah. So,
So then kind of going off of that, then I've noticed, at least from my research personally, I think like a lot of people have been so heavily demanded on nitrile specifically. Like so many people have just had their consumer preferences. Oh, we need nitrile. We need to have nitrile. We need to have nitrile for this project, whatever else. So I'm curious, with your or not end consumers, but just people that you've been helping place gloves with, have you noticed that of like, oh, we have to have nitrile, we can't have anything else? And do you think that consumer demand is going to shift towards maybe synthetics or latex or something else when they realize I don't need a 510K medical glove to do this job or whatever else it may be?
that's a really great question. And a few months ago, I would have told you, look, nitrile is going to get to a point and it's going to be a jumping off point where people say, look, I can get a blend, or I can use vinyl, or I can use something else besides nitrile. And nitrile, for some reason, has taken on like the iPhone effect. I feel like, I don't know how else to explain it.
Right.
Mercedes effect, where like people are just like, I want to be wearing nitrile, like it's taken on this persona of coolness, or I may be wrong, but I feel like it's like the iPhone against like the flip phone, right? It's like,
Right.
I don't care what it costs. I'm going to stand in line for 3 days and I'm going to buy an iPhone. I feel like nitrile, I thought at one point that blend would be a really, really, really strong marketplace because it's a decent glove. It does the same damn thing. I really, really thought blend would be big, or medical grade vinyl would be big. And I'm glad I didn't invest too much time or energy in that because it just turned out not to be. Now I have some reasons why I think blend has not been as big, is because its price rose up the same time, its price rose up, where in the beginning it was like right here. And I thought there was enough of a price discrepancy that you could
Mm-hmm.
sell this from a price point. It was almost 50%
Mm-hmm.
less, but eventually it became like only like 10 or 15% less. It wasn't enough to make people make the jump. And so I think in January and February, an enormous amount of blend is coming into the marketplace and people are having trouble move it. And unfortunately, I almost liken it to the KN95 deal where everybody went out and loaded warehouses full of KN95s. They found out the market rejected them. They were stuck. And so I think that's one of the reasons why I think the market, it has been filled a little bit with the blends and the synthetics, but I don't think people are satisfied with it for whatever reason, that iPhone, Motorola reason or whatever. And I think they want to go back to nitrile. And so I don't know that there's a replacement for it, to be honest with you, because if the blend can't work and the synthetics can't work and the vinyl's not working, I don't know what else would work. I had just sent, the other day, I just sent out a thing from the government, from Health and Human Services, that said we're still upside down about what it was supposed to be, with like close to 3.8 billion gloves being made this year, and the need is about 5.6 billion. So, they paid a research company to do this. I just posted this the other day. They said pre-pandemic, it was like 10 billion gloves a month, which is or 10 billion gloves a week, which is 10 million boxes a week into the US, which is pre-pandemic 40 million boxes a month into the US is our normal usage before the pandemic, before more people started gloving. Instead of using 3 or 4, gloves a day, they're using 5, 10, 15, 20 a day pairs. And so that makes a huge difference. And so my gut is telling me when we start importing 60 million gloves on a consistent basis, we will have satisfied the demand. Last month, we imported 36 million. The only month we've been well over 40 million was in January. And I'm redoing numbers right now, and we're somewhere around 56 million. That's the only time during this entire pandemic that we surpassed 40 million in a month. So I'm going by the raw numbers. Like when we can start legitimately importing 50, 60 million gloves, boxes of gloves a month, yeah, the market will be saturated. I'll let I have two more days left in the month. We'll see what we did in March. But February was 36 million.